anyone seen the film before this? Is this okay.
Oh, wow.
We got some super fans. Coralie, backstage, I mentioned the first time that we spoke was at Toronto for your first feature film, Revenge. And I was thinking back on that, and one of the big stories about Revenge is during its Midnight Madness premiere, a man had a seizure. And so people had a very visceral reaction to your first film, and I wondered how that impacted the way you thought about making The Substance, your second film, and the way that film can really impact an audience.
Well, first of all, hi everyone. No, it's so great to see you here, and I hope everyone is okay. Speaking of a seizure, I mean, I don't think about it when I write, because, like, to me, it's really, you know, I know that I'm gonna write in an immersive process, and that I love to create scenes that are gonna really make you feel, you know, what the character is going through. It was the case in Revenge, you know, and it's definitely the case in The Substance. And as for me, that's totally fine. I think I'm totally immunized for this. It's true that I don't ask myself the question, because for me it has a really cathartic, you know, function. And it's also a way to, I guess, create also some entertainment, you know, to be able really to feel with the audience on a big screen what the character is gonna feel. That's really what I love to create. But it's true that especially with all the work on the sound, which is so immersive, so, you know, puts you in some kind of tension. Some people who are more, you know, sensitive than others, I guess, can have some sort of reaction.
So when you're thinking about making a film, looking at this with Revenge, you have such an interesting tone, and being backstage and listening to it and hearing you guys react and laugh and gasp and really react to it. When you're going into a story, at what point are you considering what kind of tone you want to strike and how you're going to do that?
Yeah, it's kind of very, very early in the process, and it's something that comes naturally. I don't decide beforehand, you know, what's going to be the tone. What I know is that, you know, I'm going to make a genre film, and the only rule that I have to start with is it has to be something that I'm going to enjoy filming. So that's why the genre naturally, you know, comes to me, because that's what allows me to go outside of reality, you know, to create my own rules, to create my own world, my own locations, everything that basically I'm going to have fun, you know, to create, to craft, to imagine, which is not just reproducing something that already exists. The second thing that I know is that, and it's linked to your first question, I like to create something that's going to provoke something, you know, that's going to strike, that's going to surprise, that's going to create some kind of intensity, some kind of excess that's, for me, feels super liberating. And that's why, you know, when I grew up as a cinephile, I really loved the movies that were taking me elsewhere. I loved sci-fis. I loved, you know, body horrors. I loved, you know, fantasy. I loved action movies. You know, I loved all the films that allowed my imagination, you know, to go to places that didn't exist in real life. So that's the first thing, you know, that I think set up the general tone, and that really guide my writing in terms of who my characters are going to be, but I think most important, where it's going to happen, in which location. And for Revenge, I knew that I had found very important element when I found the idea of the desert, because the desert is so cinematic. It's something that can, you know, that you don't get to go every day. That's something that create a landscape that is, yes, almost beyond reality, and that can be also filmed in a very phantasmagoric way. And here, when I had the idea of setting the story in this symbolical world of Hollywood, which wouldn't be the real Hollywood, but which would be some kind of, yes, symbolical representations that, is just a metaphor, a symbol of something that happens everywhere. I knew that I had found something that I could have fun with and that would allow my symbolic language, to express, because it was not just recreating the real location, but create all the location and the set design to bring idea that would express what the characters were going through, who were going to be the mental projection of the craziness of the characters that goes more and more. And then when I start to write, there is something that I know that naturally I don't like, but it's the same. I don't rationalize it, but I don't like a genre or horror or gore that is just gore, that is just make you suffer, make you feel uncomfortable, that is, very, creepy. This is not my thing. So naturally, there is very soon in the process some elements that comes to make a total shift, and a total balance with the more violent or the more, genre elements, which is the humor, which is the satire, which is the grotesque, which is the operatic, that suddenly takes the violence elsewhere, that gives some kind of metaphorical or phantasmagoric sense to the violence, where it's not just for the pleasure of suffering or or having something violent, but to create an emotion that is to me almost as contemporary art. It's something that is so much that it creates a real experience that can say something that is very powerful, uncomfortable sometimes, but where there is always some kind of relief, some kind of distance and some kind of craziness as well. And I think that's how the character of Harvey took shape, because in the fact that it was so gross and so disgusting and representing like all those problematic behaviors, I was also wanted to have a lot of satire in that character and a lot of satire in all the investors or shareholders at the end. All those things that are so much, unfortunately, that are so true, but that are done in a way that is obviously so
you instantly recognize them.
Exactly. And then it kind of creates something that is specific. I think there is this in the Korean genre films, where it's not about it's when the genre really flirt with the craziness, with what we have of excessive in ourselves, with how we can let go things, how we can, have fun also with the serious things that we want to talk about. And I think that's really something, that comes naturally when I write. It was the same thing for Revenge, those three guys, very quickly, they were so ridiculous in their weaknesses, in their, in the way they treat nature, and all this kind of distanciation with humor is a way also to really underline the problematic behavior in a way, to me, that is super powerful, and that goes very well with the way I like to film it.
So obviously, Demi's performance has been, it's lauded, not lauded enough, I think. I feel like people are really catching up. I had not known this. I went back and I read something. You worked with her in a different capacity a very long time ago, and I hoped you would share that story with how you first met her, and then if you were thinking of her when you were writing the role.
Yeah, this story is kind of a fun, kind of a loop. The first, when I finished my studies at school, I wanted to do a French cinema school, which is very famous, which was supposed to be the best one. But to apply there, you have to be graduated for 3 years in general studies. So I did political science school, which is a very, very difficult school. So at the end of that school, I didn't want to do any school anymore, even cinema. I wanted to start working, be on the film, start, doing really things that I loved. And during the final year of this school, political school, there was a shooting in the yard in the school, and so I went, to watch, and I was with my books and my glasses at the time, and I went to see the first AD, and I told him, I really want to be an intern. Please, do you have something for me? I'd like to, be a trainee, and a couple months later, I think he. So that might be fun to see me with my books, in that school. They wanted to be on a set. He called me and he said, hey, I'm starting a shooting in Paris, near Paris and south of France. It's an American film. I need a PA, a trainee. Are you available? So I told him, of course, no, sorry, I can't. No. I said, yes, of course. And the day after, I was meeting him, and it was an American film that was coming to shoot in France, and there was Demi Moore in the casting. It was a movie from a Belgian director called Passion of Mine, and it was my first experience on a set. And what was extraordinary, it was when you're intern, your little mouse, and you discover everything. Like you discover, I had never been on the set, and you discover how a film works, what's difficult, what's great, the war between everyone, or things that great or things that don't happen the way it is. And so that's really how I discovered everything. So I can't really say that I've met Demi on this shooting. Yes, I was bringing her some coffee, the trailer, I was organizing everything, but what I experienced is watching two things, like watching how a crew was working, how you were organizing a shoot, and how what it is to work with an American actress. It was very, very interesting, and I think it warned me on many levels on how it can go very bad, or how it can go very good in the relationship that you create from the beginning between the actor and the director. And to be honest, like when I wrote the script, I didn't think at all about Demi, and we had a lot of no's in the process, because this role is obviously very challenging, and it's really confronting an actress to her worst phobia, and I knew that the casting process would be super challenging. And we were researching names after having a few rejections, and the name of Demi arrived in the conversation, and really I said, I don't think, I think she would never do something like that. She's too much in control, she cares too much about her image. I really thought, it was not at all something she would, dare consider. And it turned out that she really loved the script. Like the first time she read the script, she really loved it, and she really wanted the part. Like I think she's super instinctive, so she felt like there was something very important in that part, and also for her, where she was in her career, that she was in a process or wanted to, I think, reappropriate herself and her strengths in the industry. And what was funny is that from that little experience from very far that I had, I think it helped me set the right relationship, set the right boundaries, set the right way to collaborate in a way that, because this movie was so challenging on so many levels with everything we had to do. It was so technical, very, very difficult with all the prosthetic. I knew that if everything wasn't smooth, and we had like, I would call them like Hollywood dramas, on set, we wouldn't make it, So it was very important for me to really explain her genuinely the way we were going to do that film. It was not a big Hollywood production. We had a very limited budget compared to everything we had to do. We were shooting in France. We couldn't bring, hair and makeup from the US. Everything was very contained. We didn't have all the big stuff you can give
All
actors.
the trailers, all the
Exactly.
catering, all the.
We have the minimum, to make the actors feel good, that they have good work condition. But so it was very. I really explained her genuinely all that, and also the technicity of the film. It's a genre film. She didn't do a film like that before, so it was a lot of technique, that was gonna enter during our shooting days, the prosthetic and everything. So. Because for me, I think that's the best way you can link with an actor is really be 100% honest about what it's gonna be, and is it something that you feel is good for you or not. Because if you want, at all costs work with someone because you see it's gonna be great to finance your film, and on set like it doesn't happen in a productive way, I think you lose everything. It's So I think those preliminary conversations, very ahead of even decided to do the film together, were the most healthy boundaries and rules we set to be able to dive together in the kind of, titanic shoots of more 100 days that we were gonna have. And, on the shoot you have good days, you have bad days, someday you're tired, we're all like that. But what is important is that the trust stays even in the days where you are low. And that's what happened, even during the days where it was more difficult, or we were tired, or sometimes we disagreed. Also, happens. The trust was there because it was always productive and always like she really, I think, listened to where I wanted to go, because she had understood that the script was a real vision and that everything was linked together. So I think that's what made it so, successful in the end, because she let herself drive outside her comfort zone, and to me that's what also is a good actor, it's taking risk and putting yourself, in the hands of people that you're going to trust to drive the car.
Speaking of vision, I wondered how, when you imagined the final form that the ladies take together, that everyone just saw, how true to that vision is what we see on the screen? Because they're incredible, it's shocking, it's funny, it's gross, it's sad. How much of that is what was in your head?
Almost everything yes. I think that's why the
teeth, I love the teeth. The teeth is really good.
No, I think that's why the script took me so long to write. I wrote for a year and a half, because when I write from the moment of the script, I write what I'm gonna film. So I just don't write, the action or the dialogues, which are almost inexistent, but I write everything else. I write the feeling, I write the framings, I write the colors, the yellow coats is there from the script. All those locations, what they convey, this huge corridor. And also when I write, I research a lot of visuals. So, when I finish my scripts, I have like a 80-page, lookbook with visuals that gives you the sense of what the movie is going to be, of the mood of the, and then of course everything gets even more specific when you start, working in prep and build all that. But yes, it was a very obsessive script, because like it's about obsession, and how the inner obsession can make you become crazy and lose yourself. And also because I edit, I already have from the moment I write a very specific vision of how I want to edit things, how I want to frame things, how the use of sorry, thank you. The use of close-ups, because when you don't have dialogues, it's a whole different way of crafting, a scene. Everything is linked to rhythm, to silence, to things that don't move. And when something, a static shot of a, location of a empty bathroom creates something very powerful. So yeah, it's a whole choreography, that I already have in my head when I write the script, and I also write the sound, which is a very important part, you know, of the film. So yeah, I think if you read the script, you really already see the movie, and I think that's also you know, what make that movie possible to make, because we needed to do so many specific scenes that it had to be the most possible clear in advance, you know, for everyone who was coming on board.
Would everyone like to go and have a drink and a snack with Coralie outside? I think you guys have very much earned it, Coralie. You certainly have. Ready?
Sorry?
Snack time. It's
Oh
snack
yeah,
time.
great. Amazing.